Hi, truth seekers. It appears things may be getting down to the wire. Today, Mr. Dez uploads a video, which I will play in its entirety.
So over the past couple weeks, I have been somewhat silent on this channel. And the reason for that is I've been having some incredible discussions with ex-military, project managers, engineers, people involved with Wall Street and big banks. Many people have stepped up to offer their time, energy, resources, and that has been one of the overwhelming things that I didn't quite anticipate happening, was that so many people would be ready to step up in this. And so many of the discussions were regarding how do we move forward with this. And I now have an opportunity to use this platform to do something good. And this might not be the direction many of you were hoping it was heading in, and if that's the case, then maybe this isn't the movement for you. But we are going to use this channel and this community to begin preparing for this event that we know is going to happen. Now we're going to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally. We're going to prepare physically in the form of providing checklists and tasks for us to hold each other accountable in the forms of starting to stock up on supplies. So food, water, first aid, and basic necessities. Many people in this movement are likely in the stage where you haven't even begun to stock up, and that needs to be done. So, for example, we are going to provide checklists, and that will come out as the days go on, but it's going to start as simply as saying, okay, I want you to try and do everything you can to start stocking up on water, however that may be. And the nice thing about this is that anyone in the world who is part of this community can start doing these things, right? I know that we want to do protests and we want to be active in the community as far as saving the children and getting rid of this corruption. But I have an opportunity to help make sure that we are prepared for when things go south. And that's going to happen. There is going to be a blackout. There is going to be a potential loss of power and communications and everything else that we are going to need to be prepared for. The next thing is going to be preparing mentally. Because once this starts to happen, there are going to be things that are out of our control. And many people are going to react in a very negative way. And we need to be prepared mentally to help support those who are going to be red-pilled to an extent that their body just can't handle. There are going to be people having mental and physical breakdowns, and we need to be prepared to handle that. There are going to be people, and as much as we don't want to say it, when they start to accept the fact that the ones that we've idolized all our lives have committed these crimes against children, many are going to take their lives, and that's a reality that we have to accept, right? We're not as strong as we once were mentally. We have been broken down by Satan to a level that many people can't live with themselves that they supported such evil all this time. And then we're going to prepare emotionally. Okay, we are going to allow ourselves to dive into the crimes that these people have committed, these monsters, really. We need to start accepting and really digesting their crimes of human rights abuse, their crimes of corruption. But again, this will all come down to their crimes against children. Everything comes down to that. And so using this platform to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally is the direction that I'm going to head in. Again, if this isn't the movement for you, I respect your decision, but that's what we're going to do. Now, the other aspect is obviously this blueprint that I keep telling you all about. Now, I really want you to listen to how I'm approaching this, because no one's life is guaranteed when we go through this darkness, not even mine. And in the event that I don't make it through, I want to put this information out there. And when we begin this rebuilding phase of the earth, okay, this information will be vital. We know that there will come a time in our future in which Tesla's technology rules the world. And when we get to the point where his technology brings in a future where travel can be done anywhere in the world within a few hours, that we can actually go to these remote locations. I want you to take the exact location that I show. I want you to study it the way that I'm asking you to study it, and let the scientific community make the connection. Okay, I wasn't shown this blueprint for nothing. And I absolutely welcome every bit of research that comes in, because there are going to be other breakthroughs that I haven't noticed. But it's very important that we take these coordinates, study what I'm asking you to study in relation to our human body, and as we go along, I will begin to explain how this relates to medicine and agriculture. But in the event that I don't make it through, I want this information to be saved and recorded by every single one of you. So when I do start to post these videos, whether I do it all in one video or whether I do it in segments, I want you to hit any type of record button that you can. Because once we get communication restored, I want to see 11,000 people who have a copy of all of this, so that they can't take this and use it for their own benefit, that we know that it is in the hands of good people. Okay? I know I've been silent, but now we are going to start to move. We have found our direction, we found our purpose, and it's time to do something good. Everyone have a good day, and God bless.
So Mr. Dez appears on camera again as a leader of sorts. He pretty much states that he has some type of inside insight concerning future events from talking with military brass. You should know I've been reading sources of information concerning a coming cataclysm for quite a long time. I would say my initial exposure to the topic of coming great societal change began around 2009-2010. This was in preparation for the December 21st, 2012 Mayan calendar end date. As you may imagine, I came somewhat jaded more recently when I followed the 17 board and all of its implied messages concerning significant changes to justice in the United States. Think Durham. I think I'll take Mr. Dez, aka Andrew Fernandez, warning more seriously. For one thing, another trusted contact who I cannot disclose told me something similar. And for another thing, on the same day Andrew uploads his video, Jack Posobiec says now would be a good time to start stocking up. Okay, I editorialized the word good, but I think it is a good time. The important thing to know about Jack Posobiec is right in his bio, former Navy intel officer. There is yet another intel officer, in this case I would say a fourth person, who also says in a recent TikTok video that there is some type of impending cataclysm of sorts. But just in case the alphabet agencies are analyzing my content, trying to figure out who's in whose network, I'll just leave the name of that other officer anonymous. But just look at my assertion in a context of the previous body of videos produced on this channel, consistently taking great pains to not be deceptive. So I think from the example set by Mr. Dez, Austin Steinbart has the potential to have a similar or perhaps even greater impact if he chooses to follow Andrew's example. Austin may be able to use his team, the Steinbart Media Group, to contact this individual, Paul Valelli, and ask him what he meant about his comments concerning the 17 group a few years ago. He appears to be a possible insider. Remember Colonel Phil Waldron? Austin and Colonel Waldron were in the same room for that Deep Rig premiere that happened several weeks ago. Perhaps he can get in touch with Waldron and see if there's any intel that he would be willing to share about coming events. A message from SMG concerning the need for preparation for cataclysms would be a potentially prudent and gracious use of resources. This man has a lightning intellect, can seemingly prosper under much stress. Remember this video?
SMG Studios, and I would like to just thank everyone for their steadfast support throughout this tumultuous times here. Prison was quite an experience.
If he could somehow get permission from his probationer to be able to put out short videos like this again, he could be able to filter some key information and insights from military intelligence derived from the footwork of his Steinbart Media Group and delivered it as a concise packet gem of utility for those who are following his feeds. I think both Andrew and Austin have great potential for leadership of the Patriot N17 movement. There may be more details concerning why each of these men have taken their own individual stances on public engagement that I'm just not privy to. Anyway, I was going to hold off on doing this video, but I just saw this Jack Posobiec tweet and immediately knew I have to go ahead and cover this topic. Now, just a side note, did you know that the Lord Stephen Christ, he actually received some insight into who Austin Steinbart was 2 years before anyone else? In 2018, Austin apparently sent him some information, basically identifying him as, 17 and on. This video, so titled on this date, is where you can find that information. I learned about this, interestingly enough, from Jennifer Moonbeagle, of all people. So Austin didn't figure out who he was in the scheme of things in 2020. He had access to this info years ago. It's possible he's been in the military intelligence circuit for some time. You have the situation where 28.4% of the black community has received the pokey poke, but meanwhile, psychopath de Blasio.
You can open the door, but if you're unvaccinated, unfortunately, you will not be able to participate in many things. That's the point we're trying to get across. It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary to living a good and full and healthy life.
Is going to restrict access to basic necessities in New York to those who refuse to get the pokey poke. Remember that little girl who Biden violated in 2015?
Sure. Okay. Someone go behind there. Okay, got some more family. Come on in. Yeah, we got a crowd. Sure. Okay. Someone go behind there.
Making her feel a little uncomfortable. She has now come out and admitted that he actually did indeed pinch her and violate her entirely, meaning he is a P to the E to the D to the O. With these examples, I'm simply saying that it appears things are actually coming to a head. Either elites are going to have to close the whole world down and do a mass extermination, or God's righteous judgment will indeed come to pass, for which we must prepare. Now might be time to get our hunting equipment, our 64 cans of food, and other basic necessities. So, in conclusion, Austin has a ton of potential. I'm probably behind the curveball. I'm sure he already has his Patriot intelligence network. Mr. Dez emerges from the shadows and says, "Get ready." And despite my cynicism from years of being deflated by opium, I'm really actually inclined to believe that things are about to snap. Though ultimately, the snapping in this case is going to be a positive. The best is yet to come. Fox News notes that Secretary of Defense Austin, a different Austin, announces that the mandatory poke policy will be put in place for all active duty military. I think this could indeed be the trigger that sets the ball in motion. We'll see. Peace.